It's a great pleasure that we welcome the Foreshore Preservation Group to be a delegation before us this evening.
Madam Mayor and Council, Steve Jenkins, Environmental Coordinator. Just wanted to introduce Scott Christie, who is the biologist, the lead biologist with the Foreshore Technologies, who's been really the go-between between the district, the Foreshore Preservation Society, Fisheries and Oceans, and really has been the sort of a lead technical person on the project. And so we thought it was appropriate that Scott sort of led the discussion on update for council on where we're at and where we're going with the works between Ambleside and Dunderave.
Good evening, Mayor and Councillors. On behalf of the West Van Shoreline Preservation Society, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to present this update on the preservation work that's taking place along the West Vancouver shoreline. The West Vancouver Shoreline Preservation Society mission is to preserve, educate, and improve the environment along the West Vancouver shore for the community and its visitors. Over the past year and a half, a team of consultants has been working with district staff and a variety of approving agencies such as DFO and the Coast Guard to assist the West Van Shoreline Preservation Society in their goals. Currently, waves impact the hard shoreline, seawalls, and riprap slopes, creating reflected waves and turbulence that erodes the finer sediments off into deeper water. As the beach level drops, larger waves are able to strike further up the beach and continue this erosion process. In big storm events, waves can actually overtop the seawall, causing damage to some of the structures. You can see in some of these images. Contributing to the reduction in beach elevation is the loss of natural sediment transport system. Sediment that would normally flow off the shore has been concentrated into creeks and culverts. And as these sediments travel down under heavy rains, they're ejected out into deeper water instead of onto the upper beaches, where they would continue to feed the shore and maintain beach level. The combination of bigger waves being able to attack higher up the beach and the loss of the sediment transport system are the key features, or two key factors, that we're targeting in our pilot projects. In order to properly develop solutions to the problems, a series of surveys were conducted to map the physical and biological features above and below the water. In order to develop strategies to solve shoreline erosion, the foundation of a shoreline has to be determined, which requires a lot of subtidal work. The West Vancouver shoreline represents a long section of coast, and to that end, we employed the towed sled, which allows us to habitat or physical map large sections of the shoreline quickly and efficiently. What we found was a diverse community of plants and animals. It is important to keep in mind when you're looking at these pictures, while they're fantastic pictures, of course we took them, these are individuals, these are not large colonies, and it's important to keep in mind that there are opportunities to enhance these species in terms of their numbers. Of course, on any survey, there are things that you don't expect. And these are elements that we see along the shoreline as well. And if you're not watching when you're flying the sled, yes, you can hit lawn chairs. There are a lot of really interesting creatures under the water, and I've had the privilege of seeing some of them firsthand along the shoreline. By enhancing the shoreline, there are opportunities to increase their numbers underwater and above. The biophysical surveys revealed a number of projects that could be used to create sediment control, wave protection, and habitat. The shoreline along West Van is typically flat cobble in the big area we were working between Lawson and McDonald creeks. By increasing the relief and the stability, certain target species could be enhanced. These changes in relief could be built to trip waves as well and trap sediments. These opportunities were pursued in the creation of a series of pilot projects to see if the short-term few years, opportunity could be turned into successes for both wave protection and the environment. The building material of choice was rock. Recovered and recycled from the Squamish Highway and district projects, rock was delivered to the site by truck and placed on barges or moved along the beach in other trucks. Of special note here is the participation of District of West Vancouver staff, in particular Mr. Rick Burnham, whose coordination of hundreds of trucks of rock was key to making sure that the equipment on the beach was kept busy, and it was. While there are several projects, I'm going to identify McDonald Creek as the one to talk about tonight. There were a series of features built on the beach in front of the creeks. There's also a bypass, so there's actually two openings for McDonald Creek. The one on the left of the image is the actual creek, and the one on the right is the bypass. A series of crescent-shaped rock mounds were built and dug into the beach. The idea here is to trap some of the water that's coming out of the creeks and deflect it to the east. There are also a series of wider spaced boulder features, and these provide shoreline stabilization as well as sediment traps. If you're walking along the seawall, you'll see some of these features. They look like a relatively small pile of rock, but actually these structures extend well into the seabed. And that was done by the consultant involved in the coastal processes. We had to make sure that these structures would stay permanently, and so they're not just resting on the surface of the seabed. During the major storm events we had this past winter, while the winds were causing a lot of havoc with trees, etc., it also brought a lot of rain. Fortunately, we had some of our pilot projects in place, and the large sediment load that came down with the heavy rains, we managed to trap some of it. The photograph on the left, you can see some light brown sandy material indicating the trap worked for some small finds. On the picture on the right, you'll see a harder cobble area with a lighter sediment fraction just to the right. And again, this was because we had these traps in place, we were able to capture all this sediment, and all this material would normally have disappeared into deep water. This map shows a section of the shoreline from Lawson to McDonald with the actual as-built locations of the rocks. It's important for us to have mapped these rocks in detail so we can monitor them over the years to see if beach elevation changes or if we lose any of these facilities to wave energy. With greater relief in the beach and stability, the opportunity for shoreline and habitat preservation has begun. The image on the left is before we started the work, and the image on the right, you can start to see some of the relief taking place in the beach. You'll also note that algae and barnacles have already colonized the new features. Opportunities to interact and learn are in place, and the West Vancouver Shoreline Preservation Society looks forward to building on the initial successes of these pilot projects. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's important, everybody on council I think knows this, but for the community to recognize this initiative came from the community, put together by volunteers in West Vancouver, and you've become incredibly successful and also successful at attracting corporate partners, which we appreciate, and I guess are bringing back the beach to West Vancouver. Members of council, do you have any questions? Yes, Councillor Salovich.
Well, I truly want to pay real great respects to the society in the fact that you not only took it upon yourselves to walk with this shoreline preservation study that was so nicely given to us by a member of the Old Engineering Advisory Group, but to go ahead and raise funds through corporate sponsorship and other, you're really to be commended. And I've seen the work that you've done. It's just one of these wonderful things that happens in a community like this where dedicated individuals like yourself just took an initiative and walked with it. I think that's just first class. And we'll see the results, as we can see on one of the streams already that's been altered, new bird life in fresh water as it approaches the salt. And over time we're going to see renewal of sea life that is really void in all of the seawall. And, you know, these are just fantastic initiatives. So they're to be commended 100%.
Thank you. Councilor Ferguson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I would echo Councillor Soprovich's remarks, but I do have a question in that, are you going to be able to monitor and track changes in the inhabitants of the foreshore in the next few years, and so that we can see a progress and, I guess, proliferation of species returning?
Mhm. One of the reasons we made a considerable effort to map the features that are along the shoreline is so we can monitor their changes over time. The plan is certainly to monitor the pilot projects. If the pilot projects are successful, then larger projects can be entertained that provide much greater protection and better habitat opportunities. So yes, the long-term plan is to monitor these over time.
Great, thank you.
Councilor Day.
I was just thinking back on it. I was the council representative on the Engineering Advisory Committee, and extraordinary that one individual, Adrian Rowland, volunteered to sit on that committee. He was a harbor master in BC for the Department of Fisheries, and he came on the committee with the idea of persuading the Engineering Advisory Committee and council and the community of the importance of claiming our foreshore. And the Engineering Committee was quickly won over to his work and gave him great support, and the council did too. And this led to the formation of this excellent Shoreline Preservation Society, which has individual volunteers and staff and others contributing, and it's done extraordinary work, and we're beginning to see sand building up on the beaches, and it's been quite an achievement. So I just want to add my congratulations to your work. Steve Jenkins as well, who's done given a lot of staff input here to the Preservation Society.
Thank you. Councilor Ferguson, I'll go to you to receive the presentation, but I think the term is printed wrong. It's the Shoreline Preservation Society, is that right? The name of your group?
Modified. I'll move that the delegation from the Foreshore Preservation Society regarding Ambleside to Dunderry foreshore work be received with great thanks.
Second.
Thank you.
I think the motion should read Shoreline.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I did change group society, but I missed that one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to next report. Moving to item number 5.